Right. Where we stopped the last time, Arjun was not wondering what the pilgrimage of this life was. Actually, he was only asking what was the right route, karma yoga or sannyas. Should it be renunciation or a path of karma? And what did he have any confusion about what is this pilgrimage of life? What is the purpose of life? No, he did not mention that. The pilgrimage of this life is only and only evolution, to evolve spiritually. You know, we make a lot of demands on our devices, on technology, and we say we want a faster car, and we want a device, a phone device or a tab or a computer which has much more speed, and cameras which should have higher pixels. We make a lot of demands on technology and much more storage space, etc. But have we ever made demands on ourselves that I have to be self disciplined in order to maintain a kind of equilibrium when I am interacting with the world? Where is that self discipline? Very, very few of us make a demand on ourselves. We just let it go. We let our desires roam free in the world. We let our irritation and anger and envy and jealousy roam free in the world. And then when we come back home, are we surprised that there is disappointment? Because we have conditioned all our joys to the supply of joy from out there, from the world, from relationships, from objects, and from incidents, events. That supply of joy should be coming in a steady stream continuously, otherwise I am upset. Now that is a conditional joy, and so it can never, not even God can fulfill that kind of joy, because the nature of sansar is not fulfillment, and therefore there is a basic flaw in that kind of demand that we are making. And we also saw the last time that whoever makes an inquiry into life is actually a potential sadhu. May not be a sadhu because we have not reached that level of equanimity, of understanding the ultimate truth, of knowing who we are, knowing what is the nature of sansar. Neither of these two questions are answered in our head, and therefore we have not really reached that state of being a sadhu. But we are all potential sadhus, which means even if there is a slight inquiry in the head where we say, why is it that the world does not give me joy? What is it that will bring me constant peace? In fact, a disciple of Jesus Christ had asked Jesus Christ, where can I get complete peace? Where? How can I get complete peace? The disciple, just like all of us ordinary people, went to Jesus Christ and asked that. And Christ, in fact, he had said that your goal is to reach that peace which passeth all understanding, which means which goes beyond all understanding. It is not to be defined because it's not joy from this or that. It is basically only Anand. Not only Anand, Anand is your nature. So when Jesus Christ said that peace which passeth all understanding, which passeth all, which transcends everything on this, in this sansar, is the peace that you're looking for, and that is the peace that you have a claim to, the disciple naturally had a question in mind. Oh Christ, how can I reach that? And he said just 4 simple things. He said, seek to do less rather than more. That does not mean we do less work. It simply means that we seek less from the sansar. Seek less of what? Less of acquisitions, possessions, joy from transitory relationships, and all kinds of pleasures, trying to push each other down and jostle to get that happiness or that joy or that experience which everybody wants. He said, seek less. You want peace in the world? Seek less rather than more. Second, seek to be the last rather than the first. Whoever teaches this to their children today, even our minds are conditioned to say that if I am first, the world is going to give me accolades and call me successful and happy. But he said, seek to be last doesn't mean you seek to be last in the kind of efforts we make in our life. We make efforts to do our best in whatever roles we've been given, as a student or a householder, grihastha, or a professional. Of course not. We do our very best. But seek to be last in trying to have the highest, the best car in the neighborhood, more and more, a bigger bank account, maybe even a country house, a farmhouse, a country house, and a few more experiences of visiting some parts of the world. Seek to be the last in all this. Why make a kind of a comparison? All the time it is comparison which is driving us more and more towards the benchmarks of success and happiness which the world has given us. On Facebook, the world gives us, and in advertising, the world gives us the benchmarks of what is happiness. And then we start chasing it willy-nilly, not realizing that, oh, you are actually going down the wrong path. But seek to be the last, said Jesus Christ. And then he said, seek to do the will of another person rather than your own will. Which means that if somebody has, in your neighborhood, in your workplace, if it doesn't matter too much, you don't have to insist on having it your own way. Why insist on your own will? He said simply, seek to do the will of others. What others will, just give in. And what is the result? He is promising peace to the disciple, saying, you want peace? Seek less, seek to be last, seek to do the will of others. And in all the things that you do, see that there is a will of God in everything. These four simple things that Jesus Christ named for the disciple, had he followed it, he probably did, the peace is assured. Even Krishna is saying that I'm not giving you any utopian philosophy, some utopian hallucinatory swarga. I am promising you, not giving you. I'm promising you that happiness, that swarga, which you can claim as your own if you do these things. Even in the Bible there's a prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done. That we are praying to God, saying that let your will be done rather than my will. Mujhe aisa hi chahiye, yahi chahiye. Why insist on my will? You want happiness? Let the will of God prevail. What is God? That which Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta says that this whole world is operating on the law of causality. The law of causality, yes, cause and effect, which is the karmic law. No one can escape the karmic law. As we have done, so shall we reap, either in this life or in the future lives. So let it be so. If you just surrender to that and say, okay, this is the karmic law, then there is a sense of acceptance and discipline, self-restraint. And that discipline and self-restraint one can forge ahead, even in the sansari life, in the grihastha life, or in the professional life, with a sense of equanimity, because you have already accepted the will of God. And therefore, the path to evolution becomes clear. It's kind of as if you're sweeping your own path to forge ahead towards evolution. And even in the worldly life, if you want to gain anything, you need clarity of mind. Even when you're studying for an exam or trying to get your promotional exam through, you have to have a clarity of mind, which means you clear your desk, you do away with all the household work, don't dwell on those relationships which are bothering you, which are niggling. You put all of that actually away in your mind and say, I am focused, ekagrata. That is discipline. Even to gain a simple success in an exam, you need self-discipline. Then what about the discipline you need? Tremendous discipline for acquiring that ultimate truth. The logic is quite simple. So that's where we had stopped. Sukham Vashi. Vashi is one who has vash or control over himself, self-restraint, and that person is sukhi. So sukham vashi is the key word here, and we are in chapter 5, verse number 13. सर्वकर्माणि मनसा सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्. So if we consider ourselves only a city of 9 gates, that city which has these 9 gates or 9 openings in the body, basically it's just a metaphor to say, if you think you're just this body, just this mind, then all that we do is to spend all our energy and dissipate the energy and time in satisfying the demands of the body and the mind. Mind is demanding sukha all the time, and body is demanding all the comforts and luxuries. So these demands, if they have to be satisfied, then we are dissipating our time. So navadware pure dehi, is that all that you are? Just a city of 9 gates, which means just a body. And if you escape this idea in your mind, if you just sort of escape it, luckily if we are lucky, and get out of it, we have a new reference point of who I am. And what is that reference point? That we have talked about in chapter 2, that you are that ultimate truth, the reality, which does not even go dormant. It is completely alive and active through all your states of sleep and waking and deep sleep and youth and old age and middle age, etc. It is just constant, also before your birth and after your death. It is that one constant reality. Okay, so if I know that, I will no longer identify myself with this city of 9 gates. That means I will no longer start fulfilling the wishes willy-nilly of all the demands that are made by this body and mind, which means that I am going to be restrained and self-disciplined. So sukham vashi, simple logic. Now verse 15 onwards, actually Krishna is going to talk about that kind of a sadhu mind, a person who has actually this kind of self-restraint. We don't have it right now, but a person who actually has this kind of self-restraint and control and discipline, and an understanding at the back of the mind that yes, I am not any of these things in which I am dwelling in this fictitious world, in this world of finitude which I have created myself, Maya. It is a delusory, it is an illusion that I live in this finite world and I am infinite. How can you be meaning this body is infinite and I will live on forever. In this fallacy, in this delusion, in this moha, we have roamed on this earth for too long. But some more injunctions from Krishna. Who is it then who does action and collects the results of action? Number 14. न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजते प्रभुः न कर्म फल संयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. All of us know that the karma phal has come from swabhavastu, from nature, which means the karmic principle which we talked about, and the causality, the law of causality, the karmic principle. So if I am going through highs and lows, that of course is the phal of the past karma. But also my own nature, my personality, my persona, which is, it may be very shant, or it may be very agitated, it may be very rajasic, very ambitious, very cutthroat, or it may be shant, it may be looking for swadhyaya, looking for self-knowledge, interested in studies and dhyan, sattvic, rajasic. These personality traits are also my swabhav. This swabhav has also come from the past, and therefore the actions that I am doing right now, and all the actions, na kartritvam na karmani, Atma is not doing. It is that personality which has been developed over the years, rajasic or sattvic or tamasic, that is doing all the actions. And who is collecting the karma phal? Naturally, the same personality is collecting the phal also. Now, you may say, if everything is done not by me, Krishna, Bhagwan, or consciousness, which is, it's just like space. In space, you cannot throw up water in space and say space gili ho gayi. You cannot wet space. Space is just space. In that space, everything can happen. Therefore, you may say, if then everything is a result of the karmic principle, even my swabhav, then how can I change my karma? My karma meaning karma phala, agami karma, आगे के फल मैं कैसे चेंज करूंगा? क्योंकि मेरा तो स्वभाव फिक्स है, वो भी पहले से आया हुआ है, imprinted upon me because of my thoughts and actions in the past. Okay, so any neuroscientist will tell you that sometimes when we react to things in the world and to people and to relationships, and we do not know from where these likes and dislikes are coming from, where these attractions and aversions are coming from, we cannot even explain it ourselves. We just say that's the way it is. I don't like certain events or situations or people or certain kinds of people or certain kinds of food at the gross body level. Where does it come from? We are not aware. Why? Because it has sunk into the subconscious level. And because it is at the subconscious level, we have no access to it. I cannot even have access to it to say कि हाँ ये मेरी personality है. अरे कैसे मालूम पड़ेगा कि वो subconscious में बैठा हुआ है? It's invisible. But when do I know about it? When in a situation, any given situation or interaction or altercation or conflict, or even going to the ashram and saying, oh, this is the place that I was looking for, and you find tremendous peace. Wherever you find conflict or peace, or in any interaction, when you see your reactions, those reactions have come up to the surface from the subconscious mind. Therefore, from adrishya they have become drishya, and now you can watch it and say, aha, I can see that this is the way I'm feeling attracted or repulsed, or feeling an aversion or a liking for something, or I'm reacting to something out of anger, and I don't know why. But when that reaction comes up, that is the only small window of opportunity for us to watch it and change it right there. Because the rest of it is in the subconscious. I cannot even change my nature. And I say, I want to become a sadhu. I want to be equanimous. I want to stop thinking that I am body, mind and intellect. I want to stop. Bhagavan said there are 3 gates to hell, and that's desire and anger and pride and greed, lobha. And those 3 gates, I cannot even find out when I'm heading towards those gates because I don't observe myself. Subconsciously we may be heading, and if in the conscious actions and thoughts, if you are watching yourself as a sakshi, as a witness, Krishna promises you and Krishna promises Arjun, aha, you can watch it and change it right there. You can choose to change it, which simply means that if you have chosen to be in the world, you have chosen to build certain habits. You haven't chosen to be in the world, actually you've just come in the world. If there are certain habits that I have chosen, then be free even to alter those habits. That is freedom. So you have the freedom to alter even your habits, and therefore the word used was jitendriyaha. You can be one who has conquered the senses. Simple. So swabhavastu pravartate, all the karma are done by this personality, which is just gathering a whole lot of karma and then experiencing bhog karna us karma ko aage chal ke. And but why are we so enmeshed in it? Why do we get so entangled in it? Because we think that because I am this city of 9 gates, I am this body, I start identifying with the actions of this body and with the reactions of this body, mind, intellect, and with all that is happening, the sukha and dukkha which is happening to this body, mind, intellect, I start identifying and start saying this is mine. The first flaw was that this body, mind, intellect is mine, and therefore the second flaw is also natural, that all the sukha and dukkha which is attaching to this body, mind, intellect is also mine. So that the first fallacy has to be corrected. Just as in a dream, when you go through all kinds of experiences, sukha, dukkha, terrifying, not so terrifying, and some very beautiful, you go through all kinds of dreams, but you suffer, you even suffer through the dreams. But the moment you wake up, you say, that was just a dream. That was not the real me. But where was the dream playing? It was playing on the same mind, isn't it? The mind of the waker, the one who has woken up now, is the same mind on which the dream was playing. Which means all the experiences that we are going through right now in the waking world are sort of showing up and playing up in the dream world. But the dream world is not real. Who realizes this? The waker. The waker who says, oh, now I know it was just a dream. So now I'm not going to think about that suffering I went through in my dream and keep thinking about it and torturing myself with the same suffering. Why? Because it was just a dream. In the same way, one who realizes himself and says, oh, I know that before my birth and after my death, I am just this one entity who continues to exist, will continue to exist. How can I identify with the temporary, transient sukha, dukha, ups and downs and troubles and distractions of this small little life? And this small understanding, this slightest of flash of understanding is like waking up. अगर नींद से हम थोड़े से भी जाग गए तो हमारा स्वप्न टूट जाता है. हम पूरे जागे न भी हो, पूरे अलर्ट न भी हुए हो, लेकिन हल्के से भी जाग गए तो वो ड्रीम टूट जाती है. वैसे ही अगर हम थोड़ा सा भी जानने की कोशिश करें कि अरे हम ये नहीं है, कृष्ण बहुत बहुत बोल रहे हैं कि you are not this body mind intellect and you have to believe him, you have to have that shraddha, and all the rishis have done research on this. And when you begin to believe, और हल्के से भी अगर शिफ्ट हो गया दिमाग और समझ में आ गया, वो हल्के समझने से ही ये स्वप्न जो हमारा मिथ्या स्वप्न है, which means dwelling in a world of maya, of unreal maya, वो स्वप्न भी टूट सकता है. And you can say, oh okay, I'm suffering, but my body is suffering, and not me, my body is suffering. And at the same time, I have to go through all this because I have been given a body, mind and intellect, and I have to transact in this world of objects. I will go through all that. So a sadhu is not guaranteed a life of complete bed of roses, not at all. Some people understand this and say, मैं कृष्ण का बहुत उपासना करूंगी और मुझे कुछ नहीं होगा. ऐसे कैसे? This goes against the basic law of causality. The basic karmic law. Yes, one will go through everything, but the only difference is I will now not try to control the sukha dukha which is coming from the outside world. I will try and control the mind which is so-called receiving that sukha dukha. We spend a lot of time trying to control the sukha and dukha from outside. Here he is saying, just sukham vashi, swabhavastu, everything, all the actions you are doing, just control the mind which is receiving it. So karma phal data, Bhagwan aap to karma phal data ho. हाँ, this is a way of understanding for the bhakti yoga, क्योंकि भक्ति योग भी जरूरी है for those who find this very abstract, and they also have to climb that ladder up to the abstract. So भक्ति योग में कहा जाता है that भगवान आप कर्म फल दाता है, आप मेरी रक्षा करना, and therefore that gives them strength. But प्रकृति का नियम is प्रकृति का नियम. Law of gravity is law of gravity. No physicist is going to sit with you and argue with you. He'll say आपको नहीं मालूम है तो छोड़ दो. A physicist is not going to waste his time trying to prove कि हाँ भाई gravity होती है. And you'll say नहीं दिखती हमको, I cannot see it, I cannot feel it, I cannot cut it, I cannot hold it in the palm of my hand. No, you cannot. So prakriti ka niyam has to be understood for what it is and how it regulates everything that we experience. What else? If we are uninvolved in this so-called reality of sansar, then number 15. नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मोह्यन्ति जन्तवः. जन्तवः जंतु, हमको भी जंतुओं और जानवरों के कैटेगरी में डाल दिया भगवान ने. सभी जीव, मतलब हम भी, जंतु भी, जानवर भी, सभी, हम मनुष्य भी, we are all मोह्यन्ति, we are all deluded. There is a manufactured defect in our composition. जिस तरह से हम बनाए गए हैं उसमें एक फैक्ट्री सेटिंग आ गई है which is a manufactured defect. उसमें क्या होता है, वो डिफेक्ट में I do not know my true nature. मैं अपने असली स्वभाव को नहीं पहचान पाता, नहीं देख पाता. So what happens, like on a screen of the mobile, you have so many icons, and these icons stand for so many apps. So we start saying, ओ मैं व्हाट्सएप हूँ, मैं तो बहुत ही एफिशिएंट हूँ, ये देखो मेरी उपलब्धियाँ, टेलीग्राम हूँ, व्हाट्सएप हूँ, कैमरा हूँ, मेरी उपलब्धियाँ बहुत हैं. और हर एक ऐप इतना एफिशिएंट है, कोई कैलकुलेट करता है, कोई कैलेंडर दिखाता है, कोई जूम मीटिंग्स कराता है, इतने अच्छे अच्छे ऐप्स हैं. हाँ, वेरी गुड. बट आपके वॉलपेपर में आपने जो लगा रखा है ना, उस पर ध्यान दीजिए. तो हम सब अपने वॉलपेपर पे क्या लगाते हैं, अपने इष्ट देवता को लगाते हैं, या yeah, maybe we can even put some sansari things, but basically I'm trying to say that all these apps, all our upalabdhiyan, all our talents, all our faculties and achievements, and what we are capable of, our capacities, are all apps. They're only apps. They come and go, and some of them may even start malfunctioning, क्योंकि जब वो बूढ़ा हो जाता है फ़ोन या बॉडी, तो एप्स भी इतने एफिशिएंटली काम नहीं करते. सो व्हाई आइडेंटिफाई विद इट. द स्क्रीन एट द बैक इज नॉट